Trade and Debates on the War on Drugs, and Civil War by Mark Miller was widely interpreted as an allegory for the Patriot Act and post-9/11 debates on the balance between national security and civil liberties. While the ideological orientation of Captain America stories has shifted in response to changing social and political attitudes, Stevens notes how a central component of Captain America's mythology is that the character himself does not change. When the character's attitudes have shifted, it is consistently framed as an evolution or a new understanding of his previously held ideals. Stevens argues that the character's seeming paradoxical steadfastness is reflective of the language of comics, where continuity is continually updated to fit the needs of the serialized present. Despite his status as patriotic superhero, Captain America is rarely depicted as an overtly jingoistic figure. Stevens writes that the character's patriotism is more focused on the universal rights of man as expressed through the American dream, rather than a position championing the specific cultural or political goals of the United States. Weiner similarly concurs that the character embodies what America strives to be, not what it sometimes is. Dittmer agrees that while the character sees himself as the living embodiment of the American dream, rather than a tool of the state, his status as a patriotic superhero nevertheless tethers him to American foreign policy and hegemony. He argues that Captain America tends to skew away from interventionist actions at moments where the United States is undertaking policies that its critics deem imperialist, specifically citing the character's non-participation in the Vietnam and Iraq wars, and argues that the character's inconsistent position on the use of deadly force across his editorial history is perhaps a tacit acknowledgement of the violence, or the threat of violence, at the heart of American hegemony. Powers, abilities, and equipment. Captain America possesses no superpowers, though the super soldier serum has enhanced his body's strength, speed, agility, endurance, reflexes, reaction time, and natural self-healing ability to the peak of human physical perfection. He is additionally an expert tactician and field commander, and has achieved mastery in a variety of hand-to-hand combat styles, including boxing and judo. The precise parameters of Captain America's physical prowess vary across stories due to editorial dictates and artistic license taken by authors. Steve Englehart was given an editorial order to give the character superhuman strength in the 1970s, but the change did not remain permanent and was soon forgotten. Steve Rogers is also a skilled visual artist, having worked as a commercial illustrator prior to joining the military, and several storylines have depicted the character working as a freelance artist. The basic design of Captain America's costume has remained largely consistent from its original incarnation in the 1940s. Designed by Joe Simon, the costume is based on the United States flag, with Simon likening the character's appearance to that of a modern-day crusader, chainmail armor, and a helmet adorned with wings in reference to the Roman god Mercury. Steve Rogers has worn other costumes when he has adopted alternate superhero alter egos. As Nomad, he wears a domino mask and a black and gold suit that is cut to expose his bare chest and stomach, and as the Captain, he wears a modified version of the Captain America suit with a red, white, and black design. Captain America's shield is the character's primary piece of equipment. It is a round shield with a design featuring a white star on a blue circle surrounded by red and white rings. First appearing in Captain America Comics number 1 as a triangular heater shield, beginning in Captain America Comics number 2, it was changed to its current circular design due to a complaint from MLJ Comics that the original design too closely resembled the chest symbol of their superhero, the Shield. The shield is depicted as constructed from an alloy of vibranium and adamantium, two highly resilient fictional metals appearing in Marvel comic books. It is portrayed as both a virtually indestructible defensive object and a highly aerodynamic offensive weapon. When thrown, it is capable of ricocheting off multiple surfaces and returning to the original thrower. Supporting cast, sidekicks, and partners. Captain America's first sidekick was Bucky Barnes, introduced in Captain America Comics number 1 as the teenaged mascot of Steve Rogers' regiment. He is made Captain America's partner in that same issue after accidentally discovering the character's secret identity. Joe Simon described Bucky's creation as being largely motivated by a need to give Captain America someone to talk to and avoid the overuse of dialogue delivered through internal monologue, noting that Bucky was brought in as a way of eliminating too many thought balloons. Bucky was retroactively established as having been killed in the same accident that left Captain America frozen in suspended animation. The character remained deceased for many decades, contrasting the typically ephemeral nature of comic book deaths until he returned in 2005 as the Winter Soldier. Initially introduced as a brainwashed assassin and antagonist to Captain America, Bucky's memories and personality were later restored, and he was re-established as an ally to Steve Rogers. Rick Jones briefly assumed the role of Captain America's sidekick and the public identity of Bucky following Captain America's return to comics in the 1960s. In 1969, Sam Wilson was introduced as the superhero Falcon and later became Captain America's sidekick, making the characters the first interracial superhero duo in American comic books. Possessing the power to communicate with birds, Wilson is initially depicted as a former social worker living in Harlem, though this identity is revealed to be the result of memories implanted by the Red Skull. He later receives a winged suit from the superhero Black Panther that enables